Hello to viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're gonna talk about Soviet Space Program or CCCP. So let's dive deep into it. So we have to understand this aspect. How the heck before World War II, these two giants as in USA and Soviet Union had no space program, and after that all they can think about is space program. Who's bigger? So what the hell happened? Well, it happened a movie known as World War II, the sequel, and it changed the game. So unfortunately before this everybody was focused on aircraft. This was seen as the thing. Basically, how do you boom other party? You do this thing. That's everything. Why do you have a navy? So you can have aircraft carrier. Everything from start to finish was focused on these puppies. And idea was like, again, depending on the doctrine, depending on the design, the idea would be like you will have super long range capable basically bombers that will fly from the homeland, quote unquote, and then you're gonna at the attacking point they're gonna be aircraft carrier will launch fighters to give them cover, and then they're gonna boom the place. So that was the logic, the doctrine. However, when World War II was concluding, the picture ended, people realized one harsh fact. Rockets are better, flat out. This versus this bitch slaps this. Flat out. There is no competition. Like, to give you a context of this is a time where supersonic has not been achieved. These puppies were traveling at Mach 5. It was touching hypersonic. Like literally. From all functional reason, it was a hypersonic system. So get that point. This was hypersonic. You cannot intercept it. You cannot hear it. There's nothing that can be done. If this puppy was launched at your direction, hope it does not hit something important. As simple as that. So people realized very early on, this, while good, it's 100% useless. So everybody was like, "Da shall have this." And ironically, which is so strange, that USA and USSR, both of them had history of early rocketry, but none of them took it seriously. None of them. Like, they had intelligence people, they had people who were like capable of building rockets. Nobody funded them, nobody gave a damn about it until Germany bitch slapped all of them. So they realized very late in the game, so to say, that they don't have brain power. They have the money, they have the might, they have everything. It's just that they have zero brain. And so both of them decided, thou shall take as much brain from Germany as possible. So USA did, which most of you should know, is that USA did Operation Paperclip. Now the idea was, take as many willing scientists as they can and give them as much capability as they can to get technological superiority. USSR did their own variant. Unfortunately, I cannot pronounce the name. However, it was shocking how efficient it was. One day, done, go home. One day. So this was that day. And this was on 22 October 1946. They took 2,500 plus people. Like, seriously large amount of brain was like, yeet. They did that. And they were horrifyingly efficient, as in like dangerous how efficient they were. And just to make sure that people don't fight too much, they also take their whole family. So grand total was more than 4,000 family members, 2,500 brain people. So a lot of people were just like yeet out of there. And they also moved the equipment. So they found out where the V2 rocket was built, and they took the stuff, they ate it out of there. They had 92 freight train. They were moving everything as quickly as possible to the part that was controlled by Soviet parts. And they had very simple rule. I don't care. That was the rule. Willing or otherwise, it does not matter to them. You are coming with them. The end. Like, there was no discussion. Americans, while they were very apprehensive about having German scientists working for them, but they did fear it enough where, like the Soviet Union enough, where they were like, we really need technological advantage. However, even in that scenario, they had a rule. Thou shall not put someone on boom boom powder and then ask them to work here. You shall not put them on pew pew power. So that was the requirement of US government. That's how they allowed it. That's how they authorized it. But here it is like, bro, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Come. So these were people that gave brain power to Soviet Union. So did it work? Absolutely it worked. It created Sputnik, this puppy. Now Sputnik was basically, the space program was from 1955 to 1991. Kind of small compared to how long other nations have worked, but it was quite influential, so to say. Now they did got a lot of few first in line, so to say. Basically, first orbit, this puppy. First man-made stuff, this. First animal in space, them, first man in space, first woman in space, all of them, they got it first. Now, many times people who are bad at mathematics, they will ask us like, oh, if Soviet Union did so many first, why do we say America did it? America won the space race. Well, first, Soviet Union dissolved and America is still here. So that should tell you. But if you are bad at math, allow me to simplify. It's not about how you begin a race, it's where you finish it. For example, in India, we have like from standard 1 to standard 10. Now imagine it this way. In class 1, I was a topper. Awesome. People are like, that's a good thing. Now you fail in class 10, people will be like, bro, you are a failure. It's the same thing. Soviet Union started very early on, very strong, very awesome, no discussion about. There is like no discussion, zero. They were awesome. But here's the deal, they started to rot. And before basically USA caught on, they had a small window of time where they could have fixed themselves and gone further. They did not. Consequence, over time, USA was like, I got it better. To give you a context, this is Earth's surface. This is how far Soviet Union got. This is how far America got. It got further than 1 light second. Let that sink in. With this was the first time humanity, we are like, it will take light time to reach there. Let that sink in. That is why people say that America won the space race. It's like here. I'm pretty sure it's actually longer than this, but you get the point. So Sputnik happened. However, when Sputnik happened, USA was nothing, zero. It was like almost like a second Pearl Harbor to them. It scared them shitless, flat out. Like this was one of the few times where USA as a nation was scared. Very few times that has happened. First is Pearl Harbor, second is this. Of course, maybe some other times in the back history, but these were the time they were like genuinely scared. It's like, oh. That was like, oh, like really scared. And this also has this amazing effect that USSR was never a good place. Never a place where it was like, hey, I'm going to go to USSR. It was never a good place. However, this motivation, this achievement was the first time where this communist system has delivered something that people were like, whoa. And amazing morale boost happened. Yuri Gagarin became the first individual of like superstar stature in Soviet Union. And be mindful, Soviet Union was not a very flashy kind of culture. So they had subtle stars, basically very mild kind of individuals. This one was the first time they were going all out on it, all out. They're like, this guy is awesome and all that. Oh, this is a statue of him in India, in Calcutta. So it's one of those things, like he was paraded around the globe. It's like if countries wanted to host him, they were like, okay, you are going there. So flat out, this gave a serious morale boost to whole USSR, where people's internal motivation, oh, it's like, I'm not miserable, like my country, my ideology is actually doing something. That was like, whoa, the boost was like, whoa. So it achieved everything. It was like, hey, I bitch slapped the USA, I give morale boost to my public, everything is awesome, and we got a superstar out of it. What more could you ask from? Like fundamentally, it was like, whoa. I have always specified that Apollo missions, no matter how expensive people think they are, it returned exponentially more. Same thing happened here. It returned a lot more. This was the time where every Soviet child wanted to be as cosmonaut or scientist. So this was awesome time for them. Then the stupidity happened. Now be mindful, whenever you have to understand people support communism as an ideology, it's only stupidity. Like there is not even a probability that something else will come out of it. It will always end in stupidity. How long it takes, that's a different thing, but it will always end in stupidity. So here they had ideology and power play over the actual basically performance. As in, have you built a rocket? Oh no. Do you have connections to the top? Yes. Oh, here's the money. Rather than like, hey, build a rocket, deliver that rocket, show that the rocket performs, then we're going to give you more money. It's like, no, do you have connections? Here's the money. Oh, do you agree with this, ideology and all that? People have been poofed. I'm not joking. People have been poofed just because their ideology, it was not like, aligned well enough. I'm not joking. So flat out, that early progress that they had, they lost it because of this fight in ideologies and power play, rather than like, hey, let's actually work. To give you a context how bad this was, you must have heard this individual, James Webb. Now like, wait a minute, that's a telescope name. Well, the reason is that because there was an individual, James Webb, and he's the reason why USA got their shit together, fundamentally speaking. And he was the one who was like, hey, all of you people, be it Air Force, be it Navy, be it Army, all of you are working for this puppy known as USA. So get your shit together, align yourself. This is how you're going to do. This is what you're going to provide. This is what you're going to provide. These are the intelligence that I expect from you. Everybody worked together. And because of that streamlining, they got their shit together. And over time, they're like, moon baby. Now here, they were stupid. So what they did, multiple design bureaus, and here's the deal. In early days, Russia, America also did the same thing. However, they figured it out that it's not gonna work. They fixed it. Soviet Union never fixed it. They never fixed it. It's like, hey, America is actually getting better. It's like, no, 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 no. We're still gonna fight amongst ourselves. There were multiple design bureau, multiple. So the limited resource they had, they were distributing among multiple things. And sometimes it said they had 30 designs for one moon rocket. So it was not stupidity, it was Soviet stupidity. And here's the deal, they had their own intellectual, exactly like some we say von Braun was the American intellectual. They had this guy, Shagariy Korolov. I'm very sorry, I cannot say this sort of name, Korolev. And this guy was the brain. Be mindful, this guy was almost poofed because of ideology. I'm not joking. This guy was almost poofed. I think 6 years he suffered in camps. So dude was the most intellectual horsepower they had. And this dude suffered. And even after the suffering, he was like, okay, I'm gonna take care of it. They still fought him. Not joking. This guy was so scary that enough Soviet people knew that this was so smart that they hide him. Basically hide him in such a way that his name was never mentioned fully. He was only by initial, just as a rocket chief and all that jazz. And they made sure that he's well protected because he was smart. To give you a context, Americans knew that this guy is smart. That's how smart he was. So flat out, he was the guy. Now here's the deal. If he had access to the steering wheel of the space program, he's like, bro, I got this. Bro, moon is easy. Bro, I got you Mars, bro. Don't worry about it. However, everybody was fighting him. Now, if you have ever wondered that N1 rocket, when they were building it, why the heck they chose to put so many engines there? Well, because the guy who was responsible for making engines, not joking, this happened, was like, nope, to this guy. To the guy who was working for Soviet Union was like, nope. I don't know. It's like then he created a blah, 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 blah. And that blah, blah, blah. It's like, you cannot do this and all that. And then he was forced to go to inferior design where they had to put too many engines. And because so much money was diverted in so many places, the reason this going boom was not a big deal for Soviet Union because they could not test it. When USA was building it, because everything was streamlined, every discipline was working with each other. It's like, hey, Navy, bro, we want something big to move. They're like, we got you, fam. Air Force is like, bro, can you scout out some areas that are good for like, stuff and all that? It's like, I got you. Everybody was helping each other. They were getting things done. So they built a giant, strong ass base where they can test all 5 engines going YOLO. Soviet people could not figure it out. They could not figure out a place where they can have all the engines going YOLO. If they had figured it out, they would have figured out almost all the problems, all the oscillations, all the combustion instability, they would have figured it out. But they could not. So they were like, heck, we're gonna build it and we're gonna boom it. They expected it. Their target was 12 booms before they get actual person in space. They only managed to get 4 booms. However, the detail suggests that if this guy was alive, if this guy had control, 5th or 6th try would have been successful. Or maybe if he had actual access to the steering wheel, it's like, bro, let me deliver you the moon. Things would have been completely different, but it did not happen. And over time, people realized that they were stupid. They trusted communism and they rotted. Consequence of that, they had a clone of space shuttle. They had N1 that did not do anything. And this was the only thing they were truly ahead. This was the only thing where they were like, no, we are genuinely ahead. They had nothing. And be mindful, there was one amazing dialogue about, you tell me which politician said that. It's like, yeah, democracy has a lot of problems, but we never had to build walls to keep our people inside. And that was like the most shocking wake-up call to everyone. It's like, it's all awesome and it's like, those evil people, but if you look at them and they have better life than you, they're like, bro, what do you have? Like, here's the deal. People who do not understand brain, they will think like, oh, so in Soviet time they had like so many women educated, so many men educated, everybody was going to university. They were not going to university, they were going to indoctrination camps. They did not have brain power. And again, if they had brain power, this would have went. If they had brain power, this would have worked. But every time, like brick by brick, they were like, if they had brain power, they would have taken care of Chernobyl. I'm not saying Chernobyl should not have happened, but if it did happen, it should have been like, okay, we got this, be mindful. 3 Mile Island happened before that, and Fukushima happened after that. 2 democratic societies, they handled it. It's like, we got this. It was a dumb thing, but we got this. We've taken care of it. Could Chernobyl have been managed? Easily. In just that first few hours of reaction time, if they had reacted properly, they would have like, bro, we got this. Hell of a hassle, hell of a waste of money, but we got this. But they did not get this. So people kind of knew that they had to break the wall. So at that point in time, people also lost the interest. And ironically, this is the same time as the Americans lost interest in moon missions. They were like, dude, what they are doing there? So That was the stupidity, ironically. Like, it feels odd. It's like, dude, you have intellectual like him. Give him the goddamn steering wheel. Just give him the steering wheel. But they're like, no, no. It's like, no, you die. And then they died. So then we come to the corpses of that space program, ROSCOSMOS. Now, the core of CCCP stayed in Russia, and the idea was that West figured it out that so many rocket individuals should not be left alone, because if they were left alone, people who have money, deep pockets, will do this. And exactly the same thing that they did with Germany. So they were like, we really want to make sure that that does not happen. The reason for that is they wanted to make sure that ICBM technology does not fall into the quote-unquote wrong hand. From their vantage point, the wrong hand was Arab hand. They wanted to make sure, because they did have money. They had oil money, so the money part was sorted. They just wanted to make sure that ICBM technology does not fall into them. So they created a ISS, and the idea was like, we're gonna support basically Russia as much as, rather than directly giving them this, give them support, give them jobs basically, to just make sure that those missiles do not fall onto them. What happened after that? Well, some brain damaged individual known as Vladimir Putin. Now, be mindful. It's said even by the people who are living in Soviet Union time, they are like, Soviet Union is cursed, as in like it always selects the worst leader possible. Stalin was not liked by anyone. Nobody liked him. Not even Lenin liked him. It was like, but somehow he ended up in power and created tyranny rule that was like god tier tyranny. It was like, whoa. Even like this guy would be like, whoa, 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 bro. Let's not go that stupid. But that did happen. And then again, Putin was there at the time of wall falling, and I would not be shocked if he was actually looking at the wall falling and he had so much brain damage. It's like, you know what, this is a failure. We had amazing system. It's like, think about it. If people are physically breaking a wall down, they must have a good reason. But this guy was like, no, 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 Soviet Union must happen, because again, KGB. So what happened to this triple CP? Well, corruption and mismanagement. And consequence of that is technology stagnation, meaning this is the Yuri Gagarin rocket and this is the latest mission rocket. You're like, bro, these two look way too close to each other. They are functionally same. Functionally, they are same. Of course, modified, improved, but not new. It's like very same, more or less the same. It's like more or less the same. Not too much like whoa kind of different. It's like, oh, we figured this out on this field. Like, of course, this has better metallurgy, but not like whoa, fundamental difference. Now, to give you a context, in this time frame, America created a whole ecosystem where they built a space shuttle. They did missions with it. They had accidents with it. Then they disbanded that, lost their space wing, and they had to go back to this. But they learned from their mistake, and they have this. While they still have this, let that sink in. From here to here, and America literally had multiple ecosystem going through it, and they're like, now we got this, bro, we got this, we have rocket landing now. So fundamentally speaking, that technology stagnation, and the war in Syria kind of showed it very ironically, is that they could not trust on their own system, which people who work in radio astronomy, they are like, yeah, Russian systems are not reliable apparently, and their GLONASS system was not working. They were using commercial GPS because their GLONASS system was not reliable. And I used to download satellite images from Meteor 2, M2, I think. Yeah, Meteor M2. I used to download. You can see that in my Instagram. And people do that, still do that. But it's the only satellite I have ever found out that has defective pixels. Like, there were 3 lines not working. They launched a new one. And of course, there is a whole history of it. Few satellites that have been launched. But they always call it Meteor M2. It's like, dude, M2, V2. It's like, dude, just call it 3. But they always have like M2, 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 M2. They have launched a new one recently. And it also is not looking very good. So it's one of those things that technology on paper looks like, whoa. In real life is like, no. And their current war with basically 22nd ranking of, national power is holding them back. Let that sink in. Like, here's the deal. Nations will fall apart if they have to take care of insurgency. Insurgency is unwinnable. You get a point where insurgency happening, you yeet out of there. You do not fight it. Soviet Union did that with basically Afghanistan. They yeeted out of there. America tried to do that with Afghanistan and Iran, all that. They yeeted it out of there. So one thing, if insurgency happens, you just leave. Insurgency equals I leave. But here's the deal. At least you have to take care of the government. You have to poof the government. You have to take care of the army. Russia is the only large nation that actually went out and they could not get that done. Insurgency is not killing them. They are failing to get main thing done. Consequence, they are out of money. How do I know that they are out of money? They are asking Iran, a nation that somehow has the technology to build hypersonic Hulululu, is like, hey, Iran, can you give us something? It's like asking China, and even China is embarrassed. It's like, bro, I wanted to take Taiwan. It's like, and you are like, you're embarrassing me, man. I thought you would require whole Western nations to like, come together to stop you. You're like, just like America just giving some machines, and you're like, what the hell? It's like, it's land attached to you, land attached to you. You should be like, I got this, but you did not get this. So no big projects is gonna happen from ROSCOSMOS. ROSCOSMOS is done. Basically, same thing, minor increment upgrades, maybe, but do not expect this sort of new technology basically out of there. So flat out, that place is ironically cursed. I do not like it because I do not like people suffering. Let that be very clear. I hate dictators, but I do not hate people. I do not hate any people. I hate dictators, but not people. So this was my presentation on basically Soviet space program. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.